What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. It's a beautiful day in the garden today. It is like 20 degrees, but the sun's out and it feels amazing. But we're in the garden today to build some more raised beds. Now, I know you're probably asking yourself, Luke, how do you have room for more raised beds? And to be honest, we're kind of maxed out with raised beds. However, this raised bed that we're going to build today is going to replace a raised bed that we built about 3 or 4 years ago for the Mediterranean garden. Now, at the time we built that bed not really having any expectation for how long it was going to last. We built it with really inexpensive raised bed kits, and I knew from the cost I was paying as well as the quality of the building materials that its days were numbered from the moment I built it. I didn't know if it was going to last a year or 3 years or how long. And so the fact that I got 4 years out of it was pretty good. I mean, I can't complain, but eventually, like I said, it did succumb to its building quality and it did fall apart. So I'll show you what it looks like, and then we're going to build another raised bed, a much sturdier, heftier one, to replace it. But I didn't want to just bring you guys along for another raised bed build. I know a lot of you are new to this channel and want to learn how to build raised beds, so it'll serve as a good example for that. However, I did want to show you what the cost was like of a raised bed in 2022 versus when I started the cheap raised bed builds in 2015. A lot of you are new to this channel, so I know a lot of you probably have not seen that video, but that was one of our most popular videos in 2015, was how to build raised beds for cheap. And so I just thought it'd kind of be an interesting, comparison of what is relatively cheap for today versus what is relatively cheap 7 years ago. All right, so this is the raised bed. This is the Mediterranean garden. Now, obviously it's winter, so there's a lot that's kind of gone dormant, but we actually had a fig tree here. That has since died because all of the soil has kind of eroded away. We had a pomegranate back there. I will be replacing that as well. And that has since died because it got, just like I said, a lot of the soil just deteriorated and fell through the cracks because, I mean, the boards basically just fell apart. It was a no nail raised bed or no screw raised bed. You literally just, it was just fit together in these little slats here. So I knew that over time, that the building quality would fail us. And so, that's what's happened, is a lot of the joints, a lot of the dovetail joints have just kind of broken away. And you can see here, it just did not last. So, I mean, obviously lesson learned, it's just not made for a long time thing. But that being said, it did serve its purpose. I just want to give it a fresh up. I'm going to pull a lot of these things out in the spring, and we're going to plant a bunch more stuff here, a lot more Mediterranean stuff, things like figs and pomegranates and whatnot. And I was thinking we might also build a slight little glass house over top of this to really give it some more warmth. Because one of the things that we noticed about the figs and pomegranates is that though they were able to kind of survive, they would die back to the roots and then regrow. So they would have a hard time fruiting because they'd spend the whole season just trying to regrow what died off the year prior. So we're gonna put a little glass house over this, I think. That'd look really cool. All right, so let's get into the cost of this raised bed before we start building it. So we used the same exact materials that we used in 2015. So same dimensions of wood, same type of screws, everything, so it's as consistent as possible. Now, the type of screws that we used in 2015 that we're still recommending using today are the 3-inch galvanized deck screws. I absolutely love these galvanized deck screws. They're long enough that they punch through the 2-inch wood here that we're going to use. Plus they obviously sink in a little further into the sidewall or the sideboard. And that really just, it's a super sturdy build. Now, I picked up this 100 count box in 2015 for $8. And I picked this one up just yesterday for $11. So $3 difference in the screws, and that's for 100 count. So you're not going to need all the screws, but you're still going to have to buy them nonetheless. And that was the smallest box that they had. And so the raised bed has already gotten $3 more expensive. Now the wood, what are we using for the wood? Well, the wood, we normally recommend using an untreated pine. It's usually the most cost effective. I don't ever like not recommend using treated wood because of like health concerns. I'm not worried about that at all. Treated wood is so much different than it used to be 20, 30 years ago. It's a question we always get asked is, Luke, if I have treated wood, is there any health concerns? And the answer is no. Treated wood is not treated the same way that it was 20, 30 years ago. It's penetrated with things like heat and copper and and other, antifungal, chemicals and things like that that are not harmful to the soil at all. They permeate the wood so that things like fungus can't actually start taking hold in the wood because it's intended to not rot. And so it's going to last a long time, but I usually don't recommend it because of the cost. It's about 20 to 30% more expensive than the untreated version. And so, I just never recommended it because I want to build a raised bed as cheaply as possible. And sometimes the cost just does not outweigh the life expectancy. However, we are going with treated wood today for a crazy reason. And that's because when I went to the lumber yard, I asked them, I walked up to the lumber desk and I said, do you have any untreated 2x12s? And he said, no, I haven't had any for 3 months. I said, 3 months? He said, yeah, they're already all pre-sold. He said all the contractors in the area have already pre-bought them, and whenever they bring them in, when they have supply, they're already sold. So he didn't have any to sell to me. And so I said, well, what do you have? He said, I got some treated stuff. And so I told him, I said, well, here's the issue. I'm making a video trying to compare the cost of a raised bed in 2015 versus 2022, and typically it's more expensive, so it would really throw everything off. And he looked at me, he said, no, you don't understand. The demand is so high for untreated versus treated that the cost is exactly the same. So crazy stories aside, how much did we spend on the wood? So for the piece that I'm sitting on, this was originally an 8-foot long piece. The dimensions of this was 2x12, so 2 inches thick by 12 inches tall by 8 feet long. We cut it in half, so we have 2 4-foot sections. We spent about $20 on this piece of wood. Then we have 2 10-foot sections, same dimensions, so it's 2 inches thick by 12 inches tall, so it's a nice deep raised bed, by 10 feet long. So the 4-foot sections times the 10-foot sections is gonna give us 40 square feet. So it's gonna be 10 by 4, or 4 by 10, I should say. And the total cost for the 10-foot sections were $25 a piece. So $25 a piece for one single board, when that was the cost of the entire raised bed in 2015. So you can already see things have gone up quite a bit. But we have $50 plus $20. We spent roughly about $70 in wood for just the wood, plus the $11 for the screws. We're at $81 versus $25 for the raised bed in 2015. That is crazy. Almost 4 times more expensive in just 7 years. That's wild. That's wild. And the cost of the raised bed has really just skyrocketed in the last year. I think if you looked at the cost of raised beds in 2019 or 2018, I wish I would have done this, but I didn't. You probably would have still been at $30, $32, maybe $35 at most for a raised bed. And we're at $81 for a raised bed. Man, but silver lining is that's 40 square feet for 80 bucks. That's $2 a square foot. And the amount of food that I can grow in a single square foot is going to be far more than $2 worth, even in a single season. So in a single season, I'm going to be able to pay for this raised bed with the amount of food that I'm going to grow. So I'm not worried about that one bit, but it is a tough pill to swallow if you're on a budget. And I know there's a lot of people, including ourselves, that are on a budget. So trust me, I feel you. But also, make the jump now. Don't wait, because we don't know what the future holds. You know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I have not seen prices ever really decline. Usually once they flatline, they stay there, and then they only go up from there. I don't really ever know a time when they decline a whole lot. They might decline a little bit from where they're at now, just because of the supply and demand chaos that's happening, but I don't think they're gonna go back down to 2015 prices. I just don't. So I would, if you're on the fence about it, I'd build a raised bed now. That way you can start reaping the rewards of growing your own fresh produce and saving the money, because the cost of produce has even gone up so much. So just grow your food now, save your money now, and it's gonna be a worthwhile investment, I guarantee you. Alrighty, so what I like to do is just line up the edges here. And one note worth making is that there's 2 ways you can put this bed together. You can put the side wall on the inside or on the outside. This is the side wall. You can put the side wall on the inside or the outside. And what I recommend is putting the side wall on the inside. And the reason why is because the sidewall is going to have the longest side. And so unless you're building a square raised bed, that obviously wouldn't matter. But in a rectangular bed, the longest side is going to have the most pressure from the soil. The pressure pushes the edges out like that. And if you take a screw and screw in this way, that means you're going into the sidewall, into the end cap. What happens is when the pressure pushes out, it just simply pulls the screws right out. I've had many beds fail because of that simple little thing. So what I like to do is put it on the inside. That way you're screwing into the end cap first and into the sidewall, so that if there is any movement, it's actually pushing against the screws, not pulling with the screws. So just a quick little tip that's really going to help out. Doesn't increase the cost of the raised bed, but it definitely helps with the longevity of it. And we're going to put about 4 or 5 screws per side. I'll tell you what, the sunshine feels so nice right now. One of the things I love about this raised bed is just how simple it is to put together. Anybody can do it. And the fact that you just have an 8-foot long piece that you cut in half means that if you don't have a saw on hand or you don't feel comfortable using a saw, you can have them cut it at the lumber yard. Usually they'll do that for you. It's just one cut, right in half. So it's pretty painless. It takes no time at all to do, very inexpensive to build, and it's gonna last a long time. So there we go. There is another raised bed in the books. I absolutely love building these. It's so much fun to build them because every time I do it, it's just fun to build a raised bed. I don't know what it is about it. I find it fun. And a lot of people ask me, could it be that simple? And the answer is, yeah, it's absolutely that simple. Screws plus boards equal a raised bed. You do not have to overcomplicate it any further than that. I have added things like corner brackets and L brackets, and that does extend the life expectancy a little bit, but marginally. I've built raised beds this exact way for not only my parents, but also Mrs. MIgardener's parents. Well, Mrs. MIgardener actually, it's at her parents' house. You can go back 7, 8 years ago and watch those videos. I built the raised beds exactly the same as I did today. Wood, screws, kept it simple, and they've lasted 7 years. They grow tomatoes and peppers in them every single year, and they love the heck out of them, and they haven't broken. So why overcomplicate it, right? You know, it's just so simple. And a lot of people think that things have to be complicated to last a long time. This is a very simple design. It's a very inexpensive design. And again, inexpensive is totally relative to the time that we're living in. So this is a very inexpensive raised bed in my opinion. And I know it's gonna last a long time. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure to throw a like up there. Subscribe if you're not yet already. And also please do share this video around. It helps so much to help our channel grow. When you share our videos, it means the world to me. When you entrust a friend or a neighbor or a coworker with our videos, it means so much to me. It means the world to me. So thank you guys so much. And as always, we'll catch you all on the next episode. Grow big or go home, everyone. Bye.